Okay, awesome. Welcome everybody. We tonight we're going to talk about the new match tracking software. It's called MatchApt, and it's what Rugby Idaho is going to be using from here on forward. For referees, it's going to be basically our one-stop shop. So everything from getting matches assigned to you to filling out red card reports, yellow card reports, entering your match reports and scores. We can even do some coaching and review items on it. It'll tell you where fields are. Basically, everything you need to know as a referee logistically, this is what that software is for. The coaches for teams will be using it as well, and they will be using it more for rosters and that type of admin work. So let's start. First, the link is adeptsoft.com, as you can see up here. So whenever you want to log in, I'd recommend bookmarking this website so you have it. You all should have received an email with this link in it, as well as your login. So your login, you can use your email address, or I think there was like a 3-digit or 4-digit number that it gave you for your login. And then it will have auto-assigned you a password, which you can change at any time. So to log in, you basically go to adeptsoft.com, and then you enter in your account. And like I said, feel free to unmute yourself and chime in with questions at any time. So when you log in, this is the screen that you'll get. You'll kind of see, up in the top left, we can, view our account. We can view clubs. We can see schedules, all that stuff. So this is kind of your main dashboard. In the lower portion of the screen down here are all of your assignments. So any games that you have been assigned to, this is where those will show up. It has the dates, the times, what division it is, where it's at. And then you'll also see these accept and decline buttons. And then if we scroll over more to the right, you'll see that I have a spot to enter scores in, and then enter incident reports in, so yellow and red cards. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you log in for the first time is kind of complete your profile. So to do that, what you'll want to do is you'll want to head up to this admin area. And when you click admin, you'll see your account. So you can add a photo. And on Saturday at the Jamboree, we can take headshots if you guys need it. So, basic things, your name, phone number, email address. Address is actually important. There's a cool feature for the assigners that allows them to see where everyone's located. So Rebecca in Eastern Idaho, when we are searching for people to assign games in Eastern Idaho, we can actually see where you live so that we can assign you games close to you. So, if we see there's a referee in Nampa, his address is in Nampa, it makes more sense to keep him over there if we can. So that'll help us, assign people, closer to where they're at. So if you could go in and, complete your profile, phone number, address, email address, that's all great. And then you'll also see where it says MatchApt messages. These are like your notification preferences. So if you're assigned a match, you'll get a notification. Right now it's set to text and email. So as long as the phone number and the email address listed are correct, if I'm assigned a game, I'll get a text message letting me know, and I'll also get an email. And within those emails, you'll receive a link, and that link will allow you to confirm or deny that appointment. So if texting and email is too much, you can always switch that to email only. And like I said, your account that was given to you, you can change the password. The password is just some random, generated things. So if I wanted to change it, I would type in a new password right here. And then once I have my information here, it is not saved yet. So what I would have to do is when I'm happy with it, I would click this green down arrow, and that's like the save button. So once that's in there, it's saved. Awesome. So we got some dogs barking. Pre-match, there's a couple things you'll use MatchApt for. The first one is you can view the schedule, the complete schedule. So if we go to league, it'll have your assignments again, but what you can do is go down to schedule, and then we can change the dates. So, I can search for, say I just want to see the first couple weeks of the schedule. I can set that, or I can move the date back. And then if I click the magnifying glass, that'll search. If you're not getting, if you're only seeing a couple games, it's like, what the heck? That's probably because you have a filter on. So right now it's only searching for Brett Johnson's games. So if I go back up to select referee, it'll search for them all. So now I can see the complete schedule all season long. There's a lot of games. So, if you're looking through the schedule, kind of eyeing some games that you want, this is the way to do it. Also pre-match, this will be how you view your assignments. So if you click on referees, we'll see the full schedule again, and I'll be able to see the games that I'm assigned to, and their details. Does anyone have any questions so far? We good?
I do, Brett.
Yeah, what's up, Tyson?
So do we request games that we want, or you guys be assigned them to us and we accept them as we get them?
So, in general, Mark Kabinski is our assigner, so he will go through and assign games. If you're looking at the schedule and you're going to be in a certain area and you want to get a game in, you're always welcome to send Mark an email, and ask him. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you can certainly try.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. And I honestly don't know how to get back to the chat. Can you guys see if there's anyone chatting? Any questions in the chat, or are we good?
No, I don't see any in the chat.
Okay, cool. So assignments, let's go back to that. So we can see right now I have 2 assignments. So on the 14th and the 16th, one I've accepted and one I have not. When you basically are assigned a game, based on your notification preferences, you'll receive an alert. So I have emails set up. So if I check my email, I'll be able to see, that click the link below to view your assignments. And a lot of times what happens is the first time you get a message from this email address, your email provider will block it and mark it as spam or junk. So what you'll have to do is check your junk folder. That's what I had to do, and mark it as, not trash or not junk. But basically what will happen is you'll get sent an email. We click on the link, and then it'll bring me to this page, which will show me all the games that have been assigned to me. And I can say, I accept this one, but maybe I'm out of town. This one. So I'm going to decline that one. So now if I refresh, if we go back to the master page, we'll see I've accepted this one and I've declined this one. The allocator, Mark, will get an alert telling him, hey, I can't do this game, find someone else. And then also, so under this referee tab, we also have blackout dates. So blackout dates are like your availability. And it's going to assume that you're available every day, and it wants you to mark the days that you cannot ref. So what you have to do is kind of go through your calendar, take a peek at it and see, what days you're out of town or, have something else going on. And then basically what you do is you would create a blackout day. So I have 3 that I know that I'm going to be gone. And say, I have, a family meeting or something. If I want to create another one, I would hit this plus button, which is, creating a new one. And then all I have to do is select the date. So maybe March 3rd or March 2nd. And then the thing about this website is it doesn't save anything until you click this green downward arrow that hits submit updates. So now it's saved. So whenever you do something, whenever you create something or make a change, make sure that you click the green downward arrow. This green circle arrow is kind of like a cancel or don't save button. Does anyone have any questions about the buttons? Good. Any questions about blackout dates? Perfect. So still in the referee tab, now we have reviews. Reviews are pretty cool. So this, I think, we haven't totally decided on how we're going to use this function. But what it could be is basically, your match report or your review of how you did. So what you can do is once you have a game, you can go in, you can say, this was my game, this is what I thought of it. Here's what I was working on. This is how, it went. And then a coach, a coach of match officials, so maybe Pat Wickman can go in and he can go through this area and comment on, how you did at the ruck, the tackle. So this can be like a coaching tool. We haven't decided if, that's the platform we're going to do it on, but that capability is definitely there. It is open to everybody on the website. So if I were to create a new one, hit the plus button, I would go through, I'd click the match date, I'd select the games and everything like that. And I would save it and it would show up in this left-hand side, as under Brett Johnson. So other referees, Rugby Idaho admin, coaches, and I think even players would be able to go in and see, and read those reports and reviews. So everything's very transparent and open. So there's that. We'll kind of, as we learn the software more, we'll kind of tweak how we use it and what we do. But it's cool that there's an area, with potential to do that everyone can see it. Lastly, in the referee tab, there's an incidents tab. Hit the plus button, and this would be like our card reporting area. There's an easier way to get to this, and I'll show you in just a minute. There's a way to get directly to your games spot, but if you wanted to do it this way, you could totally do that. You enter in the teams, the division, all this information, and then card issued, yellow or red, or ignore this blue. I think they do that in New Zealand, so we don't have to worry about that. The judicial committee, this right side of the screen kind of pertains to them, so they can mark in when the hearing for the red card was, if there's an appeal, they can add the suspension. So that'll all be in there. Let's go back to referees. So if we just click on the referee tab and go to assignments. So now say, I refed my game and we want to go in and do our post-match duties. What Rugby Idaho has asked is that, if there's a red card, we text it that night. So you can send that to Pat Wickman. You can text him and just say, hey, this red card was on Rocky Mountain number 11, Tyson Bradford, right? And you say what it's for. That way we can give the disciplinary committee a heads up, let them know something's coming. And then, say that night you want to come in and enter your score. What you would do is right here, where your assignment is, where you've accepted it, if you scroll a little to the right, we can enter this score. And this is, a pretty straightforward thing. We say this team scored 3 tries. Score was 17. They only made 1 conversion. This team scored 5 tries with 4 conversions. So Middleton beats Mountain View. I don't know if we're doing anything with this MVP button, so I'd ignore that for now. I entered that in. I can add my assistant referees if there were any. Don't think it's, a big deal right now. And then also right here, it says incident report. So if I click on incident report, now I can go in and add that red card. So offending club was Mountain View, the club member. So it has the complete list of all the Mountain View players. So I can say it was Cade Smith. Sorry, Cade. The offense was a dangerous tackle. I issued a red card. So we're going to say Mountain View 10 tackled blue player around the neck with force. And I can go in there, I can cite my law up here in description. So I can say that's 9.4. You want to be detailed with these things. I'm just making this up, obviously. Recommendation is up to you if you, feel comfortable putting that in. And basically what that's for is you can say, it was totally accidental. He didn't mean to do it. He still needed to get red carded because it injured the player. It was really bad, but there wasn't, intent. Or you could say, the player had been causing problems, earlier in the game and was being very aggressive. So you can kind of get those, give the disciplinary committee more information. Does anyone have questions about the incident reports? As always, once I do this, you would have to hit the save button.
Brett.
Yeah, what's up?
If you have multiple cards in a game, do you just save it and then you do another one and then save it?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I haven't really gone in here and I haven't seen if there's ways to do multiple, but yeah, it looks like, so once you saved it, you would just hit this plus button again. And then, it has the team still here. So I'd be able to just go in, now say the Middleton player got a yellow card. So Lexi, so now he gets a yellow card, and I fill that information in, save that. So now, now there's 2 incident reports. So if I go back to this incidents tab, I can see these 2 here. And then the disciplinary committee can go in, and enter this information on the right. So yeah, you would do a different one for each card given, but luckily it auto saves a lot of the information. So it's pretty straightforward. Does anyone else have questions about that? Okay. Another thing pre-match that you might want to know, we'll go back to assignments. If you don't know where a field is, or a location, you can click this little globe. And this globe, if you set the correct dates, forgot already which day I had a game. So 3/14. So we're going to change this to 314 and submit it. So I can see where fields are. So, there's games at River Glen and there's games at Lewis and Clark. So it can kind of give you an idea of where those fields are. And if I click on it, it'll give you the location of the field. It'll give you the teams playing and then the referee. That's kind of a neat feature. And this is a similar view of what it looks like for the assigner. When he's looking to assign a week's games, he'll be able to see all the fields that are going to have games at them, and he'll be able to see where the referees live so that he can accurately assign a game. Make sure it's your current address. I think Liz has her Montana address. So when we zoom out, we'll see Liz in Montana. So so make sure it's your accurate address. And then one suggestion, if you are having a match that you're having to travel, 20 or over miles for, it's always good to get confirmation from the coaches that the match is still happening. So, if you don't have a coach's email address, let Pat know and we can get that for you. And just confirm with them. We would hate for someone to drive to Eastern Idaho and have a game be canceled. So let's talk about, so we have score, we did the coaching reports, the incident reports, and we know to text Pat with all the red card information.
Hey, Brett.
Yeah, what's up?
Are we still texting in the scores right away?
No. So with this system, it'll get automatically sent to them. We would prefer if you were able to fill out your match report, so your scores and your incidents by Saturday night, Sunday night at the latest. But as long as we do that, these scores will go directly to Rugby Idaho, which is kind of, the cool thing about the software is it ties in everything we do as referees to coaches to admin. It's all in one spot. So this should, avoid all the texting, Kirk scores, and them trying to run around for different scores. And then just a couple last things. So navigationally, we know that this down arrow is the save button. So anytime you make a change, save it before you click off the screen. This looping arrow is the cancel button. Magnifying glass is the search button. Pretty straightforward. We can clear our fields with this yellow arrow. Let's see. There's not much else I have for you guys. Do you guys feel pretty comfortable with what you're seeing? Have you had a chance to log in yet?
I have a question. If it's a player that's had a yellow card before and you go to give him another card, wouldn't it be a red? Would you put it in as a red or yellow and a red, or just two yellows?
Yeah, so there's a spot for that. So if we go back to referees, like in this Mountain Middleton game, I'm going to click on incident, and so it'll say select. So I'll click on red, select both if two yellows. So that means I select yellow and red. So if it, say it was a yellow card for a dangerous tackle and then he got a yellow card for a neck roll, you would click both yellow and red. So that helps them keep track of the accumulation of cards over the season. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Anybody else? So just to recap, what I'd recommend doing is collect your login, get that information, go to adeptsoft.com. You'll log in with either your email address or the login number that they gave you. You'll type in the password they gave you, and then I would click on admin. In admin, you'll be able to enter, your correct information, your cell phone number, email address, address, and I would immediately change your new password. Be sure to write your password and login down. I don't exactly know how resetting a password works yet, so don't be the one that we have to find out with. Basically, 99% of what you have to do is in the referees tab. So if you click on referees, you'll be able to move, and navigate right down here. I showed you what that email looked like when you get a match sent to you. Be sure to check your junk file if it's not in there. Most of these for the first time will get marked as junk, so you'll have to undo that. The emails are very basic. You click on the link, and then you can choose to accept or decline. So now I want to turn it over to Mark, who will give us just a brief rundown on how assignments are going to work. Mark, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nothing really to add in terms of the mechanics of how this works, but the main thing is just so everybody can get their accounts and profiles set up as soon as possible and get those blackout dates filled out so that we can start making assignments. Is this just a mock-up schedule, Brett, or do we know if this is the final? Either way, once that schedule,
it should be the final schedule.
I'm sorry, it is?
Yes, it should be.
Okay. So once those, everybody gets set up and profiles updated and uploaded, I'll go in and make assignments. First of all, to see if you're available, and then the second kind of hierarchy is we're going to coordinate as much as we can based on ability and referee skill, so that we can try to get the right referees on the right matches based on how competitive a certain match is going to be. So if you're a brand new referee, you're not going to get thrown on a Rocky Mountain Eagle varsity game as your first match. We'll work with you to work up to that. We don't always have that luxury, so sometimes there may be learning opportunities for us. But basically, if we can just get everybody to get logged in and set up as quickly as possible, you'll start seeing those notifications rolling in. So try to be accurate. I think in some other software systems, people mark themselves available for every single week of the season, which is fantastic. I would love it if we had everybody available every week of the season. That's not reality, but it's frustrating when people show themselves as available for the entire season, and then when I assign matches, they continually decline. So be accurate in your scheduling. Like Brett said, pull up your calendar or however you keep track of your schedule, so that you're honest in when you're available. Because if one person says they're available and I assign them a game and then they decline, it kind of has a domino effect where it affects all the other assignments, and we're having to shuffle things around. But other than that, I'm looking forward to using this system. It's going to be a lot easier than in the past, where we've just kind of sent out emails and texts and phone calls, and this will make it a kind of a one-stop shop for not only assignments but that match reporting and the disciplinary side. So looking forward to it. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, we're all excited. you know, it should make Mark's life easier. So he's not sending out an email 10 p.m., you know, Thursday night before Friday games. So hopefully it runs well. It's new to all of us. So thank you guys for, you know, going on this journey with all of us. You know, I'm sure it'll have its growing pains, but we'll all figure it out. Does anyone have any last questions as far as MatchApt goes? If not, I'll stop the recording. And then if you have questions about, you know, anything season related, you know, I'm happy to answer those as well. So any last takers for MatchApt questions? Perfect. So I'm going to stop the recording. If I can figure out how.